Audio issues. Welcome back. We've got a dead Hewlett-Packard battery here. Let me move this out of the way. It belongs to, one of the HP laptops in this form factor. You may be familiar with it. And how are people doing? How are you doing? Okay, so this is one of the Resurrected ones. We did order a battery. Let's flip over. Now, the battery that we have, the new aftermarket battery, it works. Without a doubt, it works. Let's go ahead and pull it out and get this other one put in and see what happens. Much better fit. Like the fitment of it, much better. Okay, so we're going to get power to the laptop. Nobody out there. Anyhow, we'll get our multimeter turned on, not that we need it. We have power plugged into the laptop. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. I don't know if you'll be able to see. I know you'll be able to see this big airiness black thing. It's my screen. Pixels are missing. Don't judge me. How dare you judge my screen? Alright, so it is booting up. Getting Windows ready. Working on updates. Let's see. This thing usually has a monitor. Okay, so it will come through. However, we'll keep it off that screen for now till I put the pin in. It's going to restart. This is a junk battery. Another way that we can tell that there's an issue with it. Do you see that? Do you see that? Not what I meant. Sorry. See that little blinky light right there? That little blinking light, that means that that's not normal. You could have blinking orange, I suppose, or blinking white. I've seen blinking white light, the blinking white one. That's not good. Whenever their computer's booted up, let's go ahead and put a password in real quick here, and we'll let this start up. I don't think I have any secrets on the desktop. Go ahead and flip over. We'll put my monkey ass down in the bottom corner here. Let's see, the trackpad will not work with the mouse. There it goes. Okay. Let me get control of this thing here. Battery. 0% not charging. Now let's take a look here real quick. Of course. we are plugged in. We do have a battery plugged in. And then we're running out the HDMI. So that's the only thing's plugged in other than our mouse. Main thing, we got it plugged in, not charging, 0. Now, just to test this, let's go ahead. We'll remove the factory battery and put in this nice aftermarket battery. They don't fit very well, some of them. You gotta mess with them, trim on them. I have a device on the way for this camera to help with the lighting and the aberration. I think it's going to work anyway. So let's flip back over to our repair here. We can see that the replacement battery is not plugged in and charging either? Or did I put the wrong one in? I may have put the wrong one in. Or it may need to restart. Shouldn't need to restart. It should. Nope, 1 hour 52 minutes until fully charged. It is at least charging though. Okay, so we have a dead battery here. This is the new one. It's dead. It needs to charge. We have something charging. Let's go ahead and sync that. We're going to go ahead and shut down and flip back over. Let that flip. Unplug that. Computer shut down, and while we do that, well, we can leave. We can actually, we'll take that out. We don't want it charged. So there, we have the computer shutting down. Let's get it out of our way, and we're going to check on our battery. Now, I guess we could talk about that afterward. I'll go into it afterwards. So I have an X-Acto knife handle here that has been modified to adapt to a drill bit, some smaller size drill bits. I don't know, pin vise, is that the real name for them? Anyhow, I did take and added a few holes to the battery, one here in the end, one in this other end, just to test to see, is this really what you get? Is this full of cells? Normally, they'll have cells like this. Funny, that's about the same size. They'll have cells like that, back to back, soldered, wired together in a circuit, and then you'll have a little circuit board in there as well. Now this particular battery is only a 3-cell, allegedly now, if I'm saying that correctly, this is a 4-cell. So, and I don't want to put holes in a new working battery. I don't want to put holes in it. But there's only 3 cells in this one lined up back to back. Let's go ahead and we'll see how deep this drill bit goes. So we know it goes about that deep. And then we should get about the same distance on the other side without moving it. Now that really goes in, so there. So this is a 3-cell battery, and this is supposed to be a 4-cell. Let's take that back. Up a little. Can we do that? Sure we can. Okay. Let's get our working battery out of here. So I went ahead, this was ahead of time, to see if we were dealing with an actual 3-cell or a 4-cell battery. This is a 3-cell. It is a 3-cell. So if you don't have the leads that will go in, and these did not go in far enough to test, they basically, you run out of room. Right here, when I was trying to go into that, And these ones aren't going to be long enough here. So what I did was took and measured the depth with something that would go in. Came over here, measured the depth on this face of the battery, and then went a little back from it and put another hole here. So there's one there, and then I put one here, and I was going to kind of bevel it out with a bigger bit, but did not see the need to. I started and I'm like, it's dumb. No need. Anyhow, let's get our multimeter into this picture. We'll get it turned on, and we're going to test our battery here and see if we get a negative or a positive. And how we can do that is we're going to go in with each end. So we're getting 10.5. Where is it? 11. So this thing's hopping all over the place. We're getting let's go ahead and switch our negative for a positive. Get rid of that negative sign. How high is it going to count, do you think? 14.5, 14.6, 14.9, 15. Let's go ahead and check our battery again. Something happened to my multimeter on camera? Let's power it off. You know what? I have a battery meter flashing here. I wonder if that means my battery's dying. Okay, so appears I just had multimeter battery die on camera. It's not going to work right like that, so let's swap this out. Why not? Okay, let's hope we have batteries here. I think if we need a 9 volt, I think we're covered for at least a 9 volt battery. Didn't plan on this. Let's take this detour together. We'll handle it good. The speed bumps ain't this big. Or ain't that big on this side of town. That's what I heard. Watch, there was probably, let's see, am I being dumb? Is there a battery door? Alright, let's see. What do you require? And look at that. What is that? Supercell. It's a supercell. 0% mercury battery, so it's a 9 volt. Let's go grab our 9 volt. Give me a second, I'm going to mute it in case there's traffic out there. Alright. We've got one 9 volt. One 9 volt left. Let's get our blower. Patient. Okay. Alright, that mess of noise is done. Let's get our battery and then get it installed into our multimeter. These are possibly some of the worst connectors ever. I have never once liked the connector for a 9-volt, and I'm glad they are not used on more things. They are a pain, and I usually always break them or rip one of the lobes off. Yeah, not real graceful about removing the batteries from these connectors. Alright, you're dead, we don't need you. We got half in. Let's go for side 2. Looks good. Alright, so far so good. Now before we run the screws into this thing, let's turn it on and do a test. Alright, we got our positive side of our battery and then our negative side. Ten volts. 10 volts is what we have there. Okay, let's reassemble. And continue on. So the question I'm asking is, I need to order a new battery for the laptop my laptop I'm using here, and this dead HP one. It definitely has some voltage in, but it refuses to charge. Why is the question? Did the voltage just drop too low to a minimum voltage where it won't charge? What's the story with it? So that's what I'm going to try and find out today. We know there's 10 volts in there, and occasionally the laptop will report that the voltage of the battery is much below its intended capacity or whatever, and to replace it. And is that because the battery sat for a long time, or is that because there's a dead cell in here? If there's a dead cell, we're really not going to replace it. And why not use a drill? Why use like a little hand drill or pin vise or whatever? Not pin vise, it's a maybe it is, I don't know. Why use this? Because I don't want the speed of a drill in it to slip and what's it called, go in and hit the cell, damage anything inside. I did not want that to happen. So there we have that. They're cleaned out enough to let our multimeter test leads in there. So let's get our DC, or our DC, our power supply. I guess it's a DC, right? You could consider it that, possibly, perhaps. First and foremost, let's take our leads off that we're not going to use and tighten these back down. Right. Come on, shoelace, don't trip me now. I believe in you. I know you can stay tied. Alright, so we have a few other things to do, but first let's get our power supply here, and we're going to see, same thing, we need to find the positive and negative side, because we don't want to go putting power in and put it in positive to negative. Alright. Now, are we going to get a minus on our multimeter? No. So, because there's no negative, and I can show you here, when we flip the leads around and measure, we should get a negative 10. Negative 10.0 volts. So we know that this side is positive. Give me a moment. Okay, do we have sound? Yes, we have sound. Okay, so before I was interrupted by that phone call, we got our 10 volts. When we switch them, we get negative on the multimeter. So we know that this side is positive. Let's find a silver marker. We're going to put a little positive mark on this side, just so we're not confused. We got our plus. It's not straight, but it's there. And then we have a negative. All right, what other test leads do we have? I don't want to ruin those, so we will attempt to use these. And yeah, those are going to be a nightmare to use. I'd have to cut the ends off. What else do we have? Not a lot. There's not a lot of choices here. Either we start clipping plastic or use the test leads we have. Let's go with what we have. Or will these work? I'm not quite sure. I know we can get the part in there. We just can't. We don't have no way to assure that it stays out of the plastic housing other than that little bit with it grabbing. Yeah, that's not going to work. We want to be sure that it's touching. So we'll go with the ones that we have. Let's get our power supply is plugged in. Let's get it turned on. What does our charger charge at? Let's take a look at it quick. It's a 45 watt charger. 19.5 volts at 2.31 amps. Let's turn our voltage up. Amp may be a little high. Let's see if we can get it to take some power. It's not really enough, is it? We need that thing way up. I'm not going to stand it up. And you know what? These are the same way. We need to look for different multimeter leads. What can we do? Well, we know those aren't going to work. It's time to modify our equipment. So let's do that. What we're going to do is cut this little shield off of the banana plug. Carefully, we don't want to cut through anything else. We just want to eliminate that shield so it plugs into our power supply. Thankfully, this stuff is very easy to cut. And there you have it. And again, just in case nobody managed to see that, we're going to start cutting. And once we cut, we'll roll it right around both ways till our cut connects. Alright, so we cut that one off. Now we can plug them into the power supply, and let's see if we can get the numbers to start changing, get this thing to take power. Now once we plug these in now, that's not a good thing for us because they're going to start outputting. We're going to have live power in our hands, and that can be a bad thing. We definitely don't want to touch them together. So let's see. Is it going to start taking some amperage? 2.49 amps. So it's definitely, it will take power. So, I mean, that's kind of good news. I'm trying to share this. I don't think it's going to work. Okay. Let's turn our voltage up a little bit more. So when we put our test leads in here, we start sending power to this battery. 11.4 volts, 2.49 amps, 11.5. Can we charge the battery up enough? Did the battery's voltage just drop below? There, I guess you couldn't see both of those leads. Did the battery's base voltage, where it will start charging, drop below the minimum from sitting, and that's what's keeping it from charging? I say we take a second look at our specs from our charger and see what it charges at again. So I know 19.5 volts. Was that the rating I said? Boy, this stuff is so tiny and fun to read. .5 volts, 2.31 amps. So it seems like we need to turn our amps down a little bit. We'll go there, and then we'll turn our voltage up. All right. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to turn our amps down a little more. Let's send some power into the battery. So, not enough. We need a little bit more amps. Alright, so we're at 2.37. The charger output's 2.31 for the amps, and our voltage is at 11.5. We want to see if this is going to keep raising up, but it's not very effective to have to stand here and hold this thing, right? So let's see what we can do. Another piece of prep for the job. We're going to make some room over here. For our battery to sit. We'll set it up here in front. I guess we could set it up here and then perhaps move it. We'll go ahead and put our test lead in. Put our other one in. Then let's see if this is going to do what it's supposed to do. It looks like it might. It is indeed holding our test leads in there. Okay. Now we have something to hold our leads while we can do something else. Multitasking. It's wonderful. However, just because we're doing this, we're messing with power here. We have power coming from the wall to our power supply, which is outputting a crazy amount of power. We got to keep a very watchful eye. Okay, watchful eye on the power supply. We don't want this thing getting crazy, getting out of hand. So the voltage is consistently rising. We're at 2. Let's raise that back up just a little. 2.32 amps, 11.8 volts. The voltage should start rising. It was at 10. If we measured the battery, I think it would be up a little more. I don't know that it would make it all the way to 11.8. It's probably going to be somewhere in between the 10 and 11.8, but we'll let it. Yeah. We'll let it go there for a little bit. Let's see what can happen. Right now we need to move some data. We have, actually, let's get this a little further out of our way. I'm moving it out of, I can see it. I'm not going to keep showing it to the stream. We'll just trust that it's over here sending power out. 11.9 volts, so that's a good thing. And then we'll test this battery here in a little bit. We have a Dell XPS that showed up. It needs some data from another computer that's here. So we're going to go ahead. Anybody that hasn't seen one of these, I advocated for a really long time, like telling people to get one of these, and a few people have. I would probably have one if money, wasn't no issue. I like the look of them. They're very clean. Let's take a look real quick here. We'll go over it. So there's the side of it. You get your SD card slot, and then a USB 3.0 port. You have a gauge for your battery to see where the charge is. Kensington lock. Nothing along the front other than perhaps, I think, 2 microphones. You have a USB-C port, HDMI, another USB 3.0, your DC, or where your AC adapter plugs in to charge power, You cannot charge on this generation over the USB-C. I'm not sure if they did that on some new ones. And then you have your headphone / microphone jack. Very nice computer to work on. I do believe this is an SSD model in it. I don't think this one has a hard drive internally. Did that focus that quick? Really? No. Okay, that's better. So anyhow, we got to get data put onto this thing. We're at 11.9 volts, 2.32 amps still. Let's turn this on. I don't think we'll need any power for it, and we have to retrieve some data from another computer here. But because we're dealing with a lot of data, actually, let's move the XPS out of the way. Great screens on them. Look at that with the that Infinity Edge display. There's barely any bezel around that thing, because that just sucks you in. That's like a 15-inch laptop crammed into almost like a 13 or 14-inch body because of cutting down the bezel like that. That's great. Go buy one. Dell XPS. Not sponsored by Dell, but you could own one of these very soon. Go buy it. All right, let's get... Anybody recognize one of these computers other than what it says right there? Okay, we're going to need... What is this one? Is this our Pentalab? This is our friendly Pentalab screwdriver. That's much too big. What are you thinking? Alright, so let's get this thing cracked open. We need to open it up and then get the SSD out of it, which we have an adapter for. And then we're going to plug directly into the Dell and move the data that way. Versus the option we were presented with. Put as much as you can on this 16 gig, or sorry, this 4 gigabyte drive, move it over, delete it after you transfer it, fill the 4 gig drive up again. That was our proposed method. But we're dealing with, I think, 50 gigabytes of data, maybe 47, 57, something like that, gigs. Yeah, we would have to fill that thing up 40 to 50 times and transfer data and wait each time. I think we're just going to pull the SSD and get it plugged into our adapter and then plug directly into the Dell. That will be the way to move the data. We're at 12.0 volts, 2.32 amps. The voltage is raising up on this battery. I don't hear any popping or creaking or cracking or hissing. That's a good sign. Nothing's blown up in my face yet. And hopefully my laptop battery is not dead. Hopefully it just sat for too long without a charge and the voltage got down too low. If this works, it does. If it don't, well then that's just that's a possibility. Okay, so we dropped one of these teeny tiny Apple screws. They are a nightmare when you drop them. We'll find it later. I'm not going to waste time on the stream looking for it. What a nightmare. Okay. All out? All out. Ooh, yeah, I don't think it went down there. I heard it hit over here, honestly. So. There it is, right in front of my stream deck. So there we go, we found it. Good deal. Look at all that system RAM. Look at that. These are no fun to work on. For people that do these types of repairs under a microscope, and work on iPads and iPhones and everything else. That you people are awesome that do that stuff. I would love to get into it. I don't know. Patience is a big thing. And we're waiting on a light to hopefully help get rid of that effect that you're seeing now. Look at all that system RAM soldered on. I don't know if that's a graphics chip or what that is there. It looks like it. And then we got our Wi-Fi card and we have our SSD. For right now, we need to unplug our battery, which is under here. Apple, you almost made me proud. Look at that. That battery connector for once is not screwed down. I like it. Okay, so now we can retrieve our SSD. What do we need for this one? That is a Torx that is not much different of a size than the the Pentalobe that we used to take the bottom cover off of this thing. So I think we need one size smaller still. We do. It's an actual Torx bit. And the difference between Torx and Pentalobe is Torx has 6 sides, Pentalobe has 5. Same style bit. 2.31 amps, 12 volts still, so we haven't raised above 12. Listen how quiet that is now with the AC kicked off for a moment. That's great. That's great stuff. Alright, and there we have our SSD. Before we go much further though, let's go ahead. That's our Torx bit. We're going to go ahead and put the screw for the SSD back in. I don't know how proprietary with threading or size or anything that is, and we definitely don't stock those. So now with that out of the way, let's get our XPS over here. We've got our SSD. We just need to get the adapter to be able to plug that in, and we'll get our data transferring. This is one of those times that I'm glad I was like, got this stuff ordered. Like, hey, this is only gonna help. Yes, we're using it once. Truth be told, we used it probably, I think, 3 or 4 times for this same computer, and then a few other times for some other unfortunate Macs. Alright, it's not that one. Perhaps it's this one. And you do need a few different adapters when dealing with different years of MacBook. There was the one a year, maybe 2, I think, where they used their own proprietary connection for the SSD. And then they moved over to a more conventional one. The zipper on the bag is ripping. There it goes. I think, this is our guy. This looks to be the case. We have this here, and we have that screw, which is a Phillips. We have yet again to change. I'm not going to change, we're just going to use a driver that we have laying around. Albeit non-magnetic, it will work. Alright, that is in. Let's go ahead and get it installed. And there goes our faithful AC kicking back on. What do we need now? Can we use our regular? We got our SATA. SATA to USB 3. This should get us... Oh, we're setting on the wire. I get it. And this will get us into the computer, and we can start migrating this data. Go ahead and see. The only problem, I don't know if we can go direct. No, we might be able to. Let's find out. There it is. Funny how when you have a computer that you're working on and you plug in their old drive via a SATA to USB interface or whatever, and you try to browse to their user folder, and it's like you don't have the permission, and you gotta, click continue or whatever. It's like, I think I do. It's the same person's computer. All right, we're at 12.1 volts, 2.31 amps still, and rising. Slowly rising. I don't know the minimum voltage of a laptop battery, but I think they go up to around, well, I guess 19 volts is what it would take to run, right? And then it splits voltages out from there all over the board. It's hard to tell. Okay, and finally, we're in. We need to find our data. Let's look in documents to see what is there. Okay, downloads. We have directions. Actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is on the desktop. No, it's not there. There's our database. We may need that. We are definitely going to need the reports folder. That's the main thing we're looking for. We're going to go ahead and copy. Well, sure, why not? Let's Control A, select it all. Control C. And then where is this? It's under Documents. So we need to go to Documents on the new computer. I would pull this up, but there's a lot of user info, not only for the owner of this computer, but there's actual names and addresses. To an extent, like not complete addresses and like details and GPS directions, but there's user info there I really don't feel comfortable showing, so we're just going over it. Going back into the folder, 18, everything's all there, but I'm gonna take and copy it over anyhow. In any doubling up, yeah, it wants to copy 40.7 gigabytes. Imagine doing that with this 4 gig drive. That would be a task. Okay, so all the years are there for the folders for the reports, but I'm guessing a lot of the data is missing. When this was set up a while ago, I don't think all the data was there, so we have more. It's copying over. We're at 12.2 volts, 2.31 amps, and rising steadily, slowly. We're getting there. We're going to find out, is our 3-cell battery dead? All right, to be happy with the computer, laptop I'm using, I probably should get a 4-cell battery like this, which it feels like a 4-cell. It's heavier than this light thing. So We're not going to do it. But if we were to drill a hole in each end, we would see the cell right there at each end. Do I drill holes in batteries all the time? No, of course not. You don't do that to your customer's battery. If they have a dead battery, you usually order a new one. But this is my battery. I can do what I want with it. Not this one. This one. So, I'm being cheap. I'm trying to revive something before replacing it. We're going to see if it's revivable. Can we resurrect it? Can we wrap it in a cloth and toss it in a cave for a couple of days? Seal it up? Will it come back? I don't think so. We're going to try with our DC power supply, though. That sounds like a more reliable method to resurrect this battery. I could be wrong, though. If this fails, we'll try the cave idea. Come on, HP battery. I believe in you. I know you could do it. Don't fail me now. So, from the 40 gigabytes, we're down to 14.2, 14.1, and just moving. I'm looking. I don't see any names there. You know what? I don't think it'll hurt. We'll flash it on the screen quick. We have stuff covered up. Things of that nature. Let's see. Does this thing, is it set up to clone the display? And there you have it. So we have our data copying over fairly quickly. And we don't have to make multiple trips, which before that copies, we'll go back to the above view. So yeah, it's tearing through the speed, USB 3. Okay, now we just got a pop-up. We just got a pop-up here that the destination has 200 files with the same names. Replace files in the destination, skip these files, or let me decide for each file. I am not going through 200 individual files. The safe bet is to replace the files in the destination, being that the computer we're pulling data from, the Mac, or the MacBook Pro, was worked on most recently, and this is the machine being migrated to. Excuse me. So, being that we're migrating to the Dell XPS from the MacBook Pro, we're going to replace the files in the destination. That makes more sense. These would probably be the more accurate representation of the files if any changes were made later. So we'll replace them and let our last 4.15 gigs copy over. We're at 12.2 volts, 2.31 amps still. I don't want to turn the knobs anymore to try and put more juice into it. Just a hair, we'll turn that and see what happens. Will it go more? Who knows? And there we have it. That data is copied. We have one other bit of data to copy. After the reports are there, now we need to go find a utility, which is a program that's set up that's not set up here. So we need to look for the setup, which quite possibly it may be in the downloads folder of the drive we have plugged in SATA to USB 3, the SSD out of the MacBook back there. Let's go back to our users folder. Actually, it might not be there. Let's look in. Let's go to users. Go into the users folder. Now we want downloads. See if we can find the setup for the security program. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. I don't know if she has that on there, but we might need to put that on there. That one's empty, and we have a bunch of other stuff. Alright, now we're getting into the good stuff. Still 12.2 volts, 2.31 amps. That is that. VFD. Let's try and run this setup. Let's cancel that. We don't need that. We need... Perhaps it is under the users folder. Well, that's the configuration settings for the program that we need. I've found that. Now we need the actual program. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing setup for it. We got the reports. I think the other one is a downloadable thing. I don't have credentials to go to this individual's where she gets her files for work. All the rest is there. I just need one program installed and it's good, and then the database will updates as you need it daily. It's kind of like an on-demand security thing to say as little as possible. And I'm pretty sure the setup for it is provided by work, not... Yeah, we don't even know what that is. Yes. PC Magic? That sounds so bogus. Anyhow, okay, 12.3 volts, 2.31 amps still, and rising. As a last-ditch effort, I'm going to hop into like the C drive of the one we have plugged in. We're going to go into the program files folder and look for this program. And we have it there. I doubt it's going to work, but let's copy the whole folder over. How great would it be if we went to the C drive and then program files x86 and it was already installed, just no shortcut on the desktop. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's definitely not there. Let's paste it in. We're going to provide administrator mission. This is no way to copy a program over. I'm going to say that right now. You used to be able to do that, but it's still, the program could be a little goofy because you're missing registry entries and other stuff that happen whenever it gets installed, drivers that get installed to the System32 folder. And it's often easier to just install the program over. This being that it is security-based application, I'm guessing it's not going to work at all. Let's send a shortcut to the desktop and see. We have an uninstall here. There's an updater, but there's no installer. No. Okay, so it's doing what it does on the other computer. Maybe it's an exe that runs on its own and it's housed in a folder with the uninstaller and installer. We'll see. We will ask. I'm going to, yes, I want to close it. Same message. Everything is working the same as it did on the Mac with Windows installed on it. So I'm going to call that good for now. We will keep this setup going in case there's any final changes, anything we need in the morning. dealing with the customer, if there's anything final she wants, or that massive downloads folder from Mac, which has a lot of older data, we can transfer that on over. But for now, I'm going to say, have a good night, Dell XPS. You served us well. You did what we needed. And the computer is going down. I like it. Alright. 12.4 volts is our readout while we kind of hopped around and went on to something else. We're going to let it charge for a little longer. See if we can, probably not going to get it up to 13 volts. For now, we are going to make sure this screw, tighten it down for the SSD. We have the SSD out. We'll plug our battery back in. We don't want it giving our aluminum bottom case any trouble. And we'll put this back in place and put it together. I do not want to risk losing any of those teeny tiny screws, so we're going to put them back in for now. And then we'll check our battery to see if it's recognized in the laptop. Is it above its minimum operating voltage to charge, or is it just, does it have a dead cell that's going to let it never work again? I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that the battery has charged. But hope isn't everything. Sometimes you just have to order the new one. That part is done. And one other note too, if that security-based application is just a program that runs on its own from a folder, I mean, perhaps it needs internet and credentials to log in and get the updates for it, or updates for whatever the security features are that the user gets to use. Man, that doesn't seem very secure that you can just copy it over like that. But I don't know the first thing about security. I'm the wrong person to talk about security. 12.4 volts, 2.31 amps is the readout on our battery. I'm hoping it works. I didn't think I had a bad battery. I just think it got too low to charge. And obviously, like I said, you're not going to drill holes in your customer's battery. You're going to order them a new one. But can I be... Oh, sorry about hitting the camera. Can I be my own customer? Do I give myself a bad Yelp review or whatever that is? Is that what I'm going to do? Perhaps. Perhaps. Okay. All in. Let's put that back. Get this thing out of the way. Goodbye, Magic Apple. Wonderful, magical Apple MacBook Pro. Retina. And who knows what else? It's a Retina MacBook Pro. The screen is mighty nice. Just not a fan, if I can say that. Okay. 12.4, 12.5. It's kind of flipping and flopping back and forth. Let's get the HP over here. We'll throw this stuff back in here for now. Let's get our HP on the ball and see if we have something that's going to charge or gonna hate us and do nothing. 12.5 volts looks good. Let's carefully get these out of here. We'll switch our DC power supply off. It's not hot, this casing conforms tightly to those round battery cells. It's not hot, but it's barely warm, but it knows some power went into it. Let's see if my battery's dead. I hope it's not. We have not a blinking white light like we had before. We had a solid orange light and then a white light. So maybe it, I don't know. I'm hopeful. But I shouldn't be too hopeful, I suppose. No warning when it first turns on about the battery. We'll let it go through again. To the desktop, and let's get our HDMI cable plugged in and see. So allegedly 71% available, not charging. We're able to put power into the battery, but it's not taking a charge, and I don't believe that's 71% at all. Why did the computer turn off if 71% was available? It just shut down as soon as I unplugged it. So what's the real story here? We have an orange light, and it goes to white, and then the computer turns on. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a dead battery, and I need to order a new one. Sorry for the ding. If you just heard a ding come out of the computer, I pulled my memory card for the camera. Yeah, it shows that it's not charging. Alright, not charging whatsoever. Let's take a look. Power mode plugged in, better battery. Not charging, better performance, and we'll put it right in the middle, and we're going to, let's look at our battery settings. I doubt any of these even apply, being that we have a bad battery. I'm guessing it's just reading that there's a battery there with voltage. Okay, nothing important. Nothing important. The whole not charging thing there, that's Alright, sorry about that. Phone call. Okay, all our efforts were nil. Useless. Horrible. We wasted our time. We burned some electricity. Or a magical DC power supply. We used some electric for no good purpose at all other than to charge up a battery that's not going to charge. But what we can do to verify that there's not an issue with my computer, we're going to try charging this battery in the other one. What if it just wasn't plugged in? Would that be the ultimate let's make an ass out of ourselves by not having a battery plugged in? Yeah, plugged in, not charging. So let's go to this one, our new super shady aftermarket battery that don't really fit, and we'll let it charge up a little, perhaps, maybe. Ooh, did it shut down? It did. Alright, we've got a battery charging icon with the aftermarket battery. 1%. It's going to be a while till that charges. Let's go ahead and shut this down, leave it plugged in. We have our other one here. We're going to get another power adapter for it and see if this computer likes this battery. We get power to the computer, or power to the laptop. Let's plug in our actual HP battery. Plug in our adapter. We get an orange light to start, and it should go white pretty quick. It did. I'm guessing it's going to be the same story on this laptop here.